presentation. If anyone has questions, you're free to ask in the chat. Just our time is a little bit tight, so if we're not able to get to your questions, we really strongly invite you to contact us afterwards. We're very excited about what we're talking about and what we're going to be presenting, and we're very happy to interact further. So this is the agenda of our presentation. We're going to have by Dr. Nithyananda, who's an AI expert, is going to give an intro to mental health. Followed by that, I'm going to be giving a talk on studies that have been done on a mind-body approach to mental health. This is connected to and run through Nithyananda Hindu University, and I think it's really groundbreaking, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Then Nithyananda is going to give an unclutching meditation, which is, this presentation is going to be part lecture and part experiential as well. So you should come out of here both informed and very blissfully relaxed. That will be our goal. If we achieve that, we've met our goals. Then Dr. Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, exercise with Dr. Nithyananda. And then he's going to give a lecture called Sustainable Mental Health and AI, talking about how artificial intelligence can support sustainable mental health systems. That'll be followed by Dr. Prema Kochandaraman, who's a urogynecologist at the Women's Health Excellence Center. And she's going to talk about women's mental health issues. Then Dr. Patel, who's a psychiatrist who's representing Kailasa, Los Angeles, and also practicing in the community, is going to talk about mental health and children's issues. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here globally. So we think it's very perfectly aligned with this summit, and we're extremely grateful to the UN General Assembly for organizing this and for having us here. Just a couple estimates, 2.5 to 5 trillion US dollars annual cost of mental health. That's looking at direct costs of clinical care and hospitalization, as well as indirect costs of lost work. And I'm going to posit that the cost of less than optimal mental health is so much higher in terms of lost potential.
Mental health webpage. Essentially, mental health is a state of well-being where we are able to cope with life's daily challenges, have great relationships on a daily, regular basis, learn to work well, have a successful career. And one aspect of mental health that is very often neglected is realize our full potential. In 2019, WHO predicts that half of everyone in the world at some point before they reach the age of 75 will experience mental health issues. And that is a huge number, right? That goes into the billions. And those in poverty are 2.5 times more likely to be affected compared to others. And this really says that mental health needs to start from, needs to address everybody, and it affects the disadvantaged, prevent it from happening. This is far cheaper, more effective, and more sustainable. Instead of just handling emotions, we should handle the source of emotions, address the mind-body system as a whole. And Dr. Peter is going to talk about, have an entire session on how to address the mind-body system. Instead of just controlling thoughts, address beliefs. I think transformation. So anytime you feel any of these negative emotions, you're probably experiencing incompletion. And of course, completion is a mental state where we do not have these incompletions. It gives us more freedom, more empowerment in the present moment so that we can reach our full potential in the future. A key part of this is having powerful cognitions, which are deep in yourself. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, we are not human beings striving for a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings enjoying a human experience. If you look at yourself that way as a spiritual being, then you don't think of yourself
through this university. This has been reawakened through our chancellor, who I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And this offers thousands of free programs online to the global community. There's a large, diverse team of faculty, campuses all over the world, and many, many millions of people have benefited from the teachings of Nithyananda Hindu University, and a service-based state.
contributing to the communities around, and as a foundational enlightenment ecosystem for all the people that are living there. He's also revived many dimensions of Hinduism, the powers of Paramashiva, the scriptures, temple rituals, and lifestyles for enlightened living. Has revived the sacred arts university that has created 1 million deities for enlightenment ecosystems to use worldwide. And there's more than 16,000 Kailasa ecosystems functioning that provide many services to their members and the communities around them, including andaran, giving food, growing agriculture, healing service. In that, it goes beyond the mind. So efforts to powerfully address mental health has started to look at a mind-body system, and we'll talk for individuals out there who may be watching, for the masses, that can move towards a space of enhanced mental health. So the first topic we're going to talk about is cellular effects of mind-body intervention. So this was a 3-week program called Inner Awakening, again organized by Swamiji and run directly by Swamiji. It involved activities like yoga, meditation, initiations, which we're going to talk about, but at the system-wide level will show up as stress and disease. Many of these pro-inflammatory pathways were down-regulated, and when I say down-regulated, it means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways that reduce stress and reduce inflammation were up-regulated, again 2 to 7-fold. And then there were 2 specific pathways that they noted. One is the anti-aging, genetically young. And many people know about telomeres. It's been very much talked about in the mainstream recently. The telomeres are like the aging system of the cells at the DNA level. When the telomeres in the chromosomes in the DNA get short, then the cell can no longer reproduce and becomes senescent or becomes no longer effective. So maintaining the telomeres long is a job of telomerase. So people who recall, but it was around that time, they measured mitochondrial metabolism through a test called the MTT assay, which is a surrogate for cellular viability, which is specifically a product of mitochondrial metabolism. So mitochondria are done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. One is WHO-5, which looks at overall sense of well-being. One is SF-36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which looks at mindfulness, which is your ability to be present, right? Everyone is talking about mindfulness and being in the present moment. So we wanted to measure all these things in people before and after the program. Some of the people in the program had already done similar programs and taken the initiations, and some people were new. So it was a combination. It was a convenient sample because it's through an online program. And then we did a paired and unpaired analysis. So here's what we found. So the total score system in this mind-body approach, but afterwards even greatly reduced. And stress as well went from 4 to 2 or 5 to 3. Over 14 is stress, and the US average is 8. You can see all these graphs on the left. You can see the line graphs is the paired, and then the bar graphs. Both paired and unpaired, highly statistically significant in all of these. So statistically and clinically very significant improvement in people's feeling of mental health in connection with this program. The next we looked at the WHO-5 Well-Being Index. So this goes from 0 to 100, where a higher score is a higher sense of well-being. Less than 50 is going to correlate with depression. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, 5 out of the 9 met statistical significance. And they were also clinically significant. I just included a couple graphs here. The total score, you can see it's going up for just about everyone. And then social functioning is going up for just about everyone. So again, increased mental and physical health was seen. And the last one is mindfulness. And this looks at the ability to be present. So this gives you a score from 1 to the gene expression and then these changes in mental health. So to better understand that, a lot of science has been done with Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashiva. So I'm going to talk about a few scientific studies. First one is done with, I'll go as quick as I can, but it's so valuable and so important. I want to make sure we cover it. They found complete control over brainwave activity. He could just control his brainwaves at will. There was another doctor, a neuroscientist named Acosta Urquida from Sound Health Designs in Wichita, and this was in 2005 and 2006. And they measured studied a variable called heart rate variability, which shows variability within the heart rate that reflects, because he said there's almost no activity on the EEG as baseline. Means when he was sitting there in a calm state, the brain was just completely quiet electrically. There was very little activity, which we will posit will correlate with a low thoughts per second, very little mental activity. So he could completely kind of shut off the mind, and it would show up at the EEG level. That shocked the researcher. And then when he would go into meditation, there would be a huge surge in gamma waves, which we'll talk about shortly, the significance of gamma waves. But the key part, like the things that we demonstrated earlier. So he was able to transmit it to people he was healing. Some quotes that said from Dr. Collins that he couldn't believe that he said there's no such thing as normal for you. He couldn't believe that his baseline level of mental activity. They talked about the power of the gamma waves in the mind. They take a huge amount of metabolic activity, but both mental waves are very low frequency waves from 0.5 to 4 hertz on the bottom left. This is like when you're in deep restorative sleep, or if you were like in a coma. Theta waves, these are 4 to 8 hertz. These will correlate if you're in REM sleep, if you're daydreaming, if you're in a deep meditation but not sleeping, or very drowsy. This is what you'll have. Beta waves would be, we'll go to alpha waves here. Alpha waves are the next state. They go from 8 to 12 hertz. This is if you're awake and alert and the light bulb goes off, there'll be a little flash of gamma activity. But just for a second, and only when that insight strikes, which you can't bank on, right? It's like when the muse speaks to the artist, like that. It's also connected with enhanced creativity. Interestingly, in populations and individuals who have very little baseline gamma activity, in individuals who have a higher baseline, like very low levels, I'm talking that you need a QEEG to detect, they're not going to have dementia. All that. They would go into a oneness and compassion meditation. They could go into sustained gamma. That's the only other time that I'm familiar outside of Swamiji and what I'm going to talk about that we've seen sustained gamma, but it was in long-term meditators while they were deep in meditation. So what we've seen that's unique and different, and that I've not seen described anywhere else, is can just do it at will. They describe intense bliss associated with that, intense oneness. I've also seen another disciple who can do slightly lesser at will, and I've seen a few others that go into a very high beta, almost on the cusp of this, that's extremely atypical for normal beta activity. So I see this as progression in their capacity to reflect this state of consciousness in their spiritual growth. And so they would do this by connecting with Swamiji, connecting to a state of oneness, doing things like blindfold reading and materializing this possibility of really powerfully enhanced mental health and intense states of bliss and higher consciousness. The yogic science, basically, you'll develop good mental health on the road to enlightenment, is how the yogic science works. Lifestyle, sattvic diet, and fasting. Later, another presentation is going to talk about these things. Detoxing with herbs. Puja is
to have fewer and fewer thoughts. That's fewer thoughts per second. And he showed quite a few brain scans which actually denote that kind of a state, right? So there is a meditation. We just wanted to play a little video about a meditation that can help you get to that state and calm your mind down. Like very often we are all filled with anxiety, and this meditation personally has helped me calm myself down in a moment of stress or anxiety.
Nothing can be compared to the unclutching. I'll just put the whole unclutching in you. Nothing can be. Compared to the unclutching process. In the initial level, you may be a little deluded here, there. Pure unclenching. Pure unclenching. Sit straight.
Your stress levels down. So I would really advise you to I'm going to give you a few minutes, play some meditation music. Essentially, when he says disengage from all thought processes, one technique I use is I use the word unclutch itself. Like when I observe I close my eyes, observe my thoughts. When any thought arises, I just say unclutch, which means I disengage from associating with that thought. Typically, our thought currents are one follow the other. First, I think about my house. I'm thinking about my dog in my house, and then the food the dog didn't eat, and so on and so forth. So it's an association of thoughts that creates problem. So if you unclutch from each thought as they appear. So are you sharing the audio from your output from your computer?
Yeah.
While sharing video? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll turn up the volume. Are you able to hear it now?
No.
How about now?
Awesome. One of the things that you would have noticed is while you're unclutching is your mind gets disengaged. As your mind gets disengaged from thoughts, we tend to listen to the outside sounds more clearly, like bell chiming or people talking, cars going by. That's a positive sign. But understand that even those are thoughts. And next time you try this, unclutch from those also. And when you start unclutching from those thoughts, you will start listening to more of your inner sound, like your breathing.
As well as positive findings in lifestyle measures such as yoga and meditation. So next slide. So the brain plays a very important role in regulating mood and cognition, not only through activity of certain brain structures, But the gut, in a sense, is the second brain. It has a very extensive nervous system called the enteric nervous system. And there's a communication between the brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really important in mental health. And it turns out lifestyle measure of diet is very crucial in mental health. So eating a Western diet has been associated with the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for attention, planning, judgment, impulse control. The orbital frontal cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions. And it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others, so social attachments. It turns out pain processing pathways are negatively impacting depression. And one way is maybe the cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Move on to the next slide. So what has been really, in a way, groundbreaking is that initially we thought that brain cells, we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that, and these are enhanced with increased amount of brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing fear pathways. This is sometimes called it's a important part of our very primitive brain, which is there to protect us, but can become dysfunctional when we have emotional trauma and different sorts of mental disorders. And in fact, this area, interestingly, it ends up being a little bit reduced in volume, telling us that maybe anterior cingulate striatum, these are also involved in emotional processing, some of these areas. Very interestingly, the prefrontal cortex is more active in practitioners, and they tend to have less of the natural loss of brain cells that happen to us as we age. So it's also protective of the loss of brain cells or neurons. So very important for as we age, it can have a very promising effects and protective effects. Other studies have been done looking at the brain chemicals, which are important in regulating our emotion and mood. At baseline, meditators have a higher level of serotonin, which you may have heard about. Serotonin is the brain chemical which is important for helping us to have a sense of well-being. And this level is reduced in people who are depressed. But there was a very interesting study they took up people who were depressed and put them through a 12-week program of yoga. And they measured their amount of anxiety and depression before and after, and looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety.
So basically the brain is connected to the gut by a vagus nerve. So what it means is what happens in the gut affects what happens in the brain. So the next question comes is, how can we impact the gut using the anxiety and depression? So this is one impact. And the second impact it does is that it improves the bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation, and so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces all the inflammatory bowel, the whole food plant-based diet. The next slide.
Well, you can go very quickly over this, Pandav. I believe we have a video and then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh.
They have not developed a biomemory where the pain is stored and gets inside your system and creates pain. No. So if you consume them, if you consume plants, vegetables, there is no pain going inside your system along with it. There is no biomemory going inside. Pure energy, food, only that goes inside. Understand, when you are eating the dead animal's flesh, you are also eating the muscle memory, biomemory recorded in it. That becomes part of you.
reviving and promoting. And he's unique in promoting some of these lifestyles, such as nirahara and the importance of certain herbs or aushadas for detoxification of the body and in further enhancing health. So we're getting beyond just preventing disease. We're actually, these can help us to live our optimal health. In other words, reaching our full potential, mind, body, and consciousness. So I just like to open up the discussion.
Energy level up, and it has effects at physical plane, mental pain, emotional pain, spiritual plane. That's what I found. So the least is, you lose weight, and but other than that, so emotionally you feel much better, you feel much lighter, your energy level goes through the roof, and the last, your meditation deepens like amazingly to a deep level, in the sense that you're not doing meditation, it is kind of happening to you. So it's a different state to be in.
Day or two, it actually was not difficult to sustain. And definitely the mind was quieter. People around me noticed. I mean, even your skin will start to glow. You will even appear younger. People would comment on that, wonder what I was doing. And so I definitely also experienced those similar kinds of benefits,
when I was doing it, I felt like saying,
it's being a doctor and being an anesthesiologist using all the time antihistamines on patients. And it was so good. And I used to tell everybody, about the Nirahara Samyama. This is my personal experience about that. And then, are we going to talk about Aushadha?
Jump in, Matt. Dr. Shivi.
In mental health, in physical and mental health. And part of changing lifestyle is not only practicing yoga, and unfortunately, we're not going to be practicing any of the yoga asanas today because it's difficult to demonstrate in this particular venue. But we can try a couple of pranayama techniques that can work for you. And these are simple techniques that can cool us down, make us reduce, so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose, right? Like this. How many of you feel that deep cooling happening by holding your thumb, pressing your right nostril with your thumb, and then breathing in through only your left nostril? And once you've taken a deep breath, close the left nostril and then breathe out. Typically, you have to close your eyes, nose, and mouth, and then just hum. So right now, I'm going to only teach you the humming part. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then hum deeply and intensely without stopping. Like as long as possible, just hum. And then when your humming stops, flushes negative thoughts and anxiety from your head, and just fills it with the hum that is pure thoughts, nothing else, right? Let's try doing this for a few times. Continue humming for a while. Kriyas are a combination of visualization, yoga postures, and also breathing techniques. When done together, they actually have very powerful medicinal, sorry, I won't say medicinal, it's a very powerful effect in cooling the body, right? So we're going to talk about kriyas at the end of this whole session. Wait till then to hear a little bit more, but you can search online for Nithyananda kriyas and you will find them, okay? With this, let's move on to the next section. Such resources. At least one thing that everyone needs, like people need a spiritual solution for mental health. And if you think about it, an everyday companion, which is easily available at their fingertips to handle emotions on a daily basis, but maybe even answer bigger spiritual questions, right? And one thing that everybody, and the beautiful thing is conversational AI can actually help address a wide variety of mental health needs. I want to say for sure here that AI cannot replace human beings. We still need people. And we need AI to address a few challenges, like address privacy, make trust and safety front and center. These are challenges that we are, or the science of happiness, as taught by Hinduism. So this Nithyananda.ai has the entire access to his teachings and the science of happiness and the science of enlightenment as taught by Hinduism. And it can answer questions from that perspective. So with that, let me show you a screenshot. I didn't have time to go through extensive. Teaching is about making sure others are in this state of enlightenment along with you. And completion is what I defined before, right? So it uses these principles to help walk through someone who thinks they are a bad mother because they are spending time at work and not being able to come home. It talks about how being a bad mother or bad wife only arises from separation between these two responsibilities and understanding that these two are both parts of you. And if you understand it from you think your sister should do what you want to do, right? And encourages open communication, understanding that you may not be able to spend too much time, but think about it as quality time, and also cultivating this idea of self-worth, which can lead to a challenge. So play again, press play again, please. And the final example is about about facing stress and suggesting yoga and meditation techniques. If you can fast forward this, maybe 10 more seconds.
And a pelvic surgeon from Los Angeles. We have been enjoying last more than an hour of learning so much about mental health, wellness, and holistic approaches. It's my turn to talk about women's mental health issues, incident causes, solutions, and understanding the unique challenges and holistic approaches. The National Institute of Mental Health here shows reproductive health issues like polycystic ovary, endometriosis, infertility can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual a year, and 217 million days of work lost. It's a big loss of work, and more women are seeking help but failed outcome. The treatment methods are making people dependent on medication, and more medication, it becomes a vicious cycle. So when we look at the modern day approaches for treatment, it can be varying from psychotherapy to hospitalization, depending on the severity of the mental illness, where transcranial magnetic stimulation can be used for depression. Sometimes hospitalization when women become danger to themselves and others, and also it's an expensive way of treating mental illness. So many of these current treatments primarily focus on symptom management rather than addressing the jurisprudence. Says where women are worshipped, there the gods rejoice, to the welfare of humanity. On the other hand, where they are not honored, all rights are futile. The second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021. very powerful words about women. Women, by their very DNA, have the capacity and groundedness to hold and eat the legislative chambers, put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in Kailasa. Women make up 90% of the governance in Kailasa. So when we empower women, they can be great leaders. So we may need a woman president. So at the free physical and mental wellness, this free medical care is provided using various approaches: allopathy, naturopathy, Ayurveda, Siddha. It's again, it's a free medical care is provided, and along with spiritual and psychological support and counseling to all women. So over 10 billion US dollars have been invested in women's health at Kailasa. This is very impressive. And again, a spiritual wellness, ascetic order in Kailasa is established by Swamiji. Is unique in that the free ordains women and allows women to perform temple rituals. This is the real true reviving of the ancient Hindu tradition. So there are 108. So by looking at powerful, and through this, there is a proven way to
vacant. You already have too much masculine. The whole world is suffering with too much masculine energy. If at all politics can be handed over to women, so much good will have happened to the human society, human civilization. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women,
practicing, and after being with Swamiji for almost about 20 years, none of my patients need pain medicine, and none of my patients need narco, and it's his initiation, empowerment of women. We do like get powerful life, whatever you are, like wherever you are, to lead a very powerful, healthy life. So for all women, mothers, homemakers, anyone, everyone, get empowered with Kailasa emotions and past traumas, building resilience and improving healthy relationship, and leads to an empowered life. And there is a short video. Listen from his powerful words and transmit.
Anger, fear, guilt, powerlessness, what all is getting blurted out, vomited by your immature mind. Listen, pen down. Do completion 2-3 times. Sit with mirror, actuate, and making you completely complete and making you manifest powerful cognitions and powers. Till I appear in the mirror, continue completion, and I tell you, I will really appear in the mirror and make you complete and make you manifest powers. When I say, I mean. Sit in front of mirror and start completing all those patterns and incidents, root incidents, everything. Let all the incompletions melt down, be completely burnt away. You will see in your pure inner space and in the mirror me appearing.
Now we invite Dr. Patel to come talk about children and mental health issues.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sailis. Some of the unique challenges for children, which includes physical, emotional, and social changes, adversity such as poverty, abuse, exposure to violence, pressure to conform with peers, exploration of identity, and so forth. So can we have next slide? So based on this alarming other consciousness-based approaches which were discussed earlier, practiced on a regular basis, including yoga, meditation, and sattvic diet, Swamiji had given details how this Hindu education system promotes freedom to explore and be creative and not force children into strict curriculum, nor evaluate them based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children and helps them feel power. Copy phase, students are first asked to copy 12 images of various complexity. This copy phase reflects the student's visual motor intelligence and maturity. In second phase, recall phase, which is recall phase, students need to remember all the images of previously drawn without seeing them. The recall phase reflects students' visual recall intelligence. And the tests were performed on 75 students, and the results showed an average percentile rank of 95.7 for copy phase and 89.91 for recall phase. Age and average intellectual age was 2.7 years ahead of chronological age. 83% of students were 1 to 6 years ahead of actual age, and 53% students were 2 to 6 years ahead. So that's really impressive numbers. So this is small studies. Of course, more studies are needed. But in summary, can we have next slide? This gives anecdotal evidence of.
Go on for any other UN sessions or anything else, science summit sessions or anything else. You're free to go, but we'd invite everyone else to be able to stay. But just briefly, it's our conclusion that this mind-body model that we've been, Peter Bloomfield, my email, and Sri Mukta Ananda, his email as well. They're both posted at the bottom. Also, policymakers for children's mental health, we invite you to contact us for collaboration for how to incorporate this approach to traditional education and for further research. And then, of course, the Padmashivoham program is a program that I referred to that showed profound positive effects on mental health, reduction in depression, anxiety, and stress, extreme improvement in well-being, mindfulness, and overall health. That program is ongoing. You can find it at padmashivoham.org.
Shared 108 kriyas for a variety of diseases and disorders to alleviate, use in conjunction with other approaches. And this video will introduce the kriyas and what do they mean and why they are so powerful. And after that, I'll walk you through a very simple kriya for stress relief. But let's start with this one. Please.
Nerve circuit, the nervous system. Prana circuit, the respiratory system. Digestive circuit, excretory circuit, reproductive circuit, and energy circuit. Of these circuits, the energy circuit is governed by the Kundalini energy, though not spoken much by the medical science, but elaborate references have been given for the flow to resume. Similarly, when there is a block in the energy circuit in the body, there is impedance to energy flow forward, and it results in disease in that particular organ. The Kundalini energy in our body is like the water in the water tank.
To that circuit. See, putting your body in certain asana makes the circuit blockage free. The circuit becomes perfect, but only through the kumbhaka, the energy gets pumped into the circuit. This is exactly the principle.
The energy imbalance, and which results in healing diseases. Kriyas help to heal the body, experience extraordinary powers, and to have spiritual experience in the body.
These kriyas are my unique contributions to the world. The kriyas have karanas, the different Shivadandava karanas. 7th, I am adding the recent discoveries of modern day gymming and weightlifting. So all these 7 put together, I work on your body and mind, creating yogic body and Vedic mind. Power, stamina, flexibility, physique, energy. All the 5 put together.
We learned how to do Nadi Shodhana, which is breathe in through one nostril, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in through that nostril and breathe out. So that's one thing we learned. We're going to do that first. Then the second step is you sit in a special posture. Do we have the picture of that posture? There is a posture. I shared a picture yesterday. Do we have that in the slide?
This is the last slide, Mukta.
And the humming is something I already shared with you before. And so the third step is lie down, and in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates intense humming in your body. It creates an elevated feeling. Just lie down with that feeling and unclutch from everything. So I've taught you unclutching like before. We started off the session with it. I taught you that alternate nostril breathing, and I taught you powerful. It'll de-stress your entire body very beautifully. Okay, let's start with Nadi Shodhana. If Peter, you could play the music. With your thumb, close your right nostril, start breathing in. Play the music to Peter. Thanks. And unclutch from all thoughts. Can you unclutch from your thoughts? Open your eyes slowly and pause the music video. You can find out for yourself. So I hope you can practice this meditation before going to sleep every day. It's very powerful, not only in de-stressing, but also in performing to your life's best.
United Nations going forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.